Hey everybody, it's Johanna here with Orbital Astrology, and I'm here with the weekly forecast for the week of January 8th all the way until the 14th. So we're in the first, well, I guess last week was the first full week of January of 2023, and we are in the second full week of 2023. We had a wonderful full moon last week in Cancer, which was really kind of beautiful and luminous and very intuitive. And I'm very curious to see if people had some intense dreams that day, or just got some aha moments as far as intuitively, just because Cancer is such an emotionally sensitive sign, and they can pick up on things sometimes that other people can't. So when the moon is full, it's like the most incredibly potent phase of the moon. So that's when the sensitivity is the highest, and sort of things come out into the open that may not necessarily have been there before. Yeah, I have lots of Christmas decorations in the background, so I apologize for the clutter. If you are here live, say hi. If you're not, if you are watching this on the replay, so if you're part of the Orbit membership, hello everybody. I'm very excited to have you here and to get your thoughts on. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the full moon last week. If you did the full moon workbook and had tracked the past lunar family with this Cancer full moon, what sort of aha moments you had, or what stories came to light to see where you are in the progress, or in the sequence of that story. So if you're not part of the membership, no worries. This is always a free forecast I do for everybody at Resonant Essentials every week. So hello everybody at Resonant Essentials, and let's get into it. So this is going to be a little bit of a short forecast, just because I have to run my oldest daughter into town for work. So I was going to talk about the general themes of the week, which we do have a big thing finally happening this week, which is Mars is stationing direct, which yay! If you're me or anyone like me, or if you are just over having Mars retrograde, you get to have some relief finally this week, because it is finally coming out of retrograde after 10 weeks of being retrograde. So also we have Mercury retrograde, but I honestly, this is going to give people a lot of good perspective on Mercury retrograde, and how we should be grateful that it's only 3 weeks, right? Since we've had this extremely long Mars retrograde through the sign of Gemini. It's been retrograde since October 30th of last year. And now we finally get to have a little bit of relief from that, and things start moving forward. So for the past 10 months, we've been kind of banging our head against the wall a little bit, because Mars wants to have forward motion. It's the planet of action, of passion. It wants to do things, right? It doesn't want to sit there and think about things. It wants to go out and make things happen. But when things are retrograde, that's usually an internalization of the energy. And I am sorry, I'm wearing a shawl, like a coat. It's cold in this room, so I'm not trying to look like, I don't know, whatever it is. So yeah, so Mars retrograde has been kind of an internalization of that forward moving energy, the energy that's like, I want to go do the thing. Well, no, you actually have to stop and rethink it before you redo it. Or you have to think, well, that was like a little slip there, but yeah, redoing things is something that we've had to do during Mars retrograde. Instead of doing the next thing that we want to do, or the new thing we want to do, we've had to redo the old thing again, or look at what action needed to be taken that we didn't do, and that now we have to do because we're being forced to. So that's what can be really frustrating, especially when you feel like you've already tried to complete something, or you feel like you have already done all the work that you needed to do, but now you see that there's still more work going on. So Mars has been retrograding through Gemini, and that has been difficult, because wherever you have Gemini in your chart, that's the area that needs to be redoing things, or rethinking how you have done things in the past, or how you want to do things in the future. And so sometimes it gets very frustrating, because you kind of feel like you're spinning your wheels a little bit. You can't make any real progress, because you have to like go back and redo things. You have to like double check things. You have to like refix things. You have to, all the RE words, right? The re words, those are all associated with retrogrades. So if you've used this time productively, which means you've sat down and calmly assessed the situation that you have to redo, learned the lessons that you have been brought up during the Mars retrograde, like, well, maybe I shouldn't have taken such hasty action in this area, because now I have to redo that part again. Or maybe I didn't take action on something and I should have, and now I'm being forced to take action during this retrograde, or planning to take action once the retrograde ends. So, Gemini is a very social sign. It's also a sign of communication and ideas. So, this has probably been a very active social or very active thought, idea, communication, lots of emails being sent, lots of like correspondence being sent back and forth. I mean, Mars is also the planet of aggression, so there could be some fights, there could be just some arguments happening during the past 10 weeks. You're probably like, yeah, of course, there's always arguments happening. But if it's a little more than normal, or things feel a little bit more heated, there's a little bit more back and forth going on. I mean, Gemini has to redo things all the time anyway, because it's a um, double imaged sign with us, the twins. So if you see Geminis, usually they're like the ones who forget their keys and they have to come back in, after leaving the door, or leaving for work in the morning, or they forgot something, or they have to like rethink something, or they have to like ask somebody or twice or something like that. So it's kind of a double whammy with the retrograde in Mars retrograde in Gemini. So there may have been a lot of redos this time, or maybe rethinking a lot of things. So if you're feeling stressed and you're feeling like I can't take it anymore, you finally get to have the relief this week, because Gemini will be stationing direct on Thursday the 12th at 1:56 p.m. Mountain Time. So adjust for your time zone. And it's going to be at 8 degrees Gemini. So wherever you have 8 degrees Gemini, and even if you have planets, excuse me, at 8 degrees of any of the mutable signs, you probably will be feeling this most intensely. This may be kind of I don't know, like a breaking free of that wheel spinning. If you think about like when you were riding your bike, or if, like a 3-year old's like riding the tricycles, and the training wheels are just spinning, like you get stuck in the mud and you can't go anywhere. You're just like, you're like high centered or something with your car. Your wheels are spinning, but you can't get any traction. This direct period, if you have lots of those mutable planets, or placements in mutable signs. So what are the mutable signs? Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius. If you have 8 degrees, any planets at those positions, or any angles or asteroids or the nodes at those positions, then this direct station is going to be much more intensified for you. So you may really feel it on Thursday. If you don't have something at those placements, it doesn't mean that things aren't going to be intense for you, but you still will feel sort of a shift as Mars starts to go forward finally. And it's not always like bam, bam, like on that day, at that time, something amazing. More gradual, because the retrograde energy is, on all the way back to its stationing point where it starts moving forward again. There's where the planet's going to be crossing back over those degrees that it went retrograde over previously. So technically, we're not into new territory yet. We're still going to be retracing the steps, but at least we're going to be able to take new steps, or to at least going to be able to leave the past behind. Right, as we start redoing the stuff that we have gone over during the retrograde, we're going to be able to just be like, okay, check, done with that. Now I'm on to the next thing. Okay, now I don't have to review this one more time. Now that I understand it, now that I've looked at it, now that I've reconsidered all the things that I did during the retrograde, I can finally start taking action on those things. And then once Mars is out of its shadow, then the new stuff will start coming in. And then fingers crossed, we'll all feel a nice sigh of relief when Mars finally leaves Gemini and goes into Taurus in April. So yeah, we still got a little bit of time with Mars and Gemini, but the retrograde will be over as of this Thursday. So what else is big this week? I've talked about inner planets really kind of being forefront this week, and making some aspects to both inner and outer planets. And so if you're new to astrology, you're like, what is an inner planet? Or they are also called personal planets in astrology. That would be Mars, Venus, Mercury. The sun and the moon can be considered personal, but they're really more about the self, versus Mercury, Venus, and Mars, which are kind of about interpersonal relationships with other people. So they're very like sensitive to our emotions and like how we interact and how do we relate to people. And of course, they're moving much quicker than the outer planets. So the transits with the inner planets of Mercury, Mars, and Venus are going to be much more frequent. So Mars is going to have a little conversation this week with Venus, which is not an incredibly huge life altering. I mean, it can be, but as far as like once in a lifetime transit, it's not like that. It's going to be kind of run of the mill, or kind of the okay, well, Mars is going to come into contact with Venus again. I mean, they're always in this dance together, Mars and Venus. It's just the kind of yin and yang energy, masculine, feminine, active, passive, receptive, action oriented, sort of opposites. Those two polarities of Mars and Venus are going to be in play with each other, talking to each other. Monday the 9th, it's going to be a positive alignment that we're going to have between Venus and Mars. So there may be some sort of like finally coming together between the opposites, between someone you may have been either disagreeing with or kind of like sparring with, or someone you've been having conversations with, like maybe an argument. You may finally get on the same page, or there may be some sort of flowing energy between you where you can like maybe have a productive discussion about things. Now, Mars is still retrograde, right? It's kind of grinding itself to a halt, which means it's like really, really slow, which can kind of feel like frustrating and stuck. So the Mars side of this equation may not be super happy. The Venus side is pretty happy. Venus is moving really quickly through Aquarius right now. So, Aquarius is ideas as well, but more fixed ideas, more future oriented ideas. So really maybe excited about sharing a vision. Venus may be very excited about sharing a vision with Mars this week on Monday. Mars may be kind of like begrudgingly going along with it because of the stationary nature of Mars this week. But that could be a positive thing on Monday the 9th. So look out for that. Now, this may not be something huge. Sometimes the interplanet transits are more subtle. So it could just be like work conversations, or, a phone call with your mom, or whatever you sort of socially interact with, whatever interpersonal relationships you're having this week, that it could be just sort of like a nice conversation or something flowing, moving fast. Now, of course, I always like hesitate to use the word nice associated with the trine aspect, which is what is happening on Monday. There's Mars trine Venus. Because sometimes flowing doesn't necessarily mean good or fun or nice or easy. It just means it's like there's nothing in the way of the energy between the two planets. There's no like disagreement, there's no like stopping, there's no adjusting. It's like the floodgates have opened, or the released, and it's just free flowing to the next planet. So it can be send that email or something, but it's out there now. It just sent very easily. The conversation I had with this person may have been too easy. Maybe you were like, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have said that. It just kind of flew out of my mouth. Or yeah, so there's many different ways that the energy can present itself. So just be aware of that. Mars and Venus, they're going to be these cosmic partners for life. The dance between those two planets is going to be so archetypally ingrained in our lives and our history and our our myths and our movies and our stories and our books and all of the things that we when we think about those two archetypes of like the lovers, or the the I don't want to say, but the masculine and the feminine, or the two opposite archetypes who have to be in some sort of relationship, bringing two different point perspectives to the table, the having to figure out how to compromise and work together. So that's going to be going on Monday. Crap, we're already at 13. I got to get going. So yeah, the big deal is Friday or Thursday is Mars stationing. We do have Venus very active this week, coming into contact with Mars, also the nodes, and then she's making a square actually next Saturday, the 14th. Venus in Aquarius is making a square to Uranus in Taurus, which is kind of a bigger deal because Uranus moves so slowly that Venus isn't going to be making its aspect with it very often. So once that could be much more of a pivotal thing that's happening on Saturday the 14th. Of course, we have Friday the 13th this month, on January 13th on Friday, when I feel like that day is going to be kind of a nice day. And of course, the mythology behind Friday the 13th is, debatable about whether it's really negative or really positive, right? Because the 13th aspect is there's very lunar, right? There's 13 moons, not 12 moons in a year, or lunations. So yeah, so I think it'll be a nice day actually, because we have Mercury coming into a positive alignment with the North Node. So that can be a good conversation about where you want to go in the future, or being drawn towards something that's going to be putting you on the right path towards something in the future that you want to be working towards. It may be something kind of unpredictable, because the nodes are known for not necessarily being good or bad. Sometimes they are considered to be pretty malefic in some astrology studies. So, but there is a trine aspect, like I said, so that could be a good positive conversation. You may get some information about what you want to do in the future or where you're going, but it's also a very nice aspect because we have the sun coming into its, I guess this only happens twice a year because Neptune is such a slow moving planet. Neptune is at 23 degrees Pisces, and the sun is at 23 degrees of Capricorn. So that moves into a sextile position. So that's only going to happen when the sun is in Cancer, and then when the sun, or sorry, when the sun's in Capricorn and when the sun is in Taurus, right? Yeah. So those are going to be the two sextile positions of the sun coming into an alignment with Neptune. So that'll be kind of a nice opportunity for our first phase of sextiles this year. We'll have another one in March or May, or late April or early May. But I always consider this an opportunity for astro flow, which is what I am passionate about researching and understanding about how to get in alignment with your chart and to do flow related activities, because Neptune is kind of the planet of flow, even though everything in your chart helps you get into flow. But getting into alignment with the universe, this is a great opportunity to do that. So Friday the 13th, if you can get past the woo scariness of it, focus on something that's going to get you into sync with your chart in some way, especially if it's something to do with your identity, because the sun rules our identity, our vitality, our higher purpose, our mind, what we want to do with our lives, what gives us life. Where if you think about the sun radiating warmth, like you think about what gives you that sort of happy, glowing feeling about your life, what makes you happy, where do you want to focus that purpose? So if you can think of an activity that you want to do this week, especially on Saturday, and if you are in my Orbit membership, you will have a whole list of all the astro flow dates for the month of January. So you can sort of align yourself or get yourself into a good opportunity to do some flow related activities. This is a great opportunity to do that because Neptune is going to be supportive in creating flow. And Neptune is very close to squaring the galactic center, which is at 26 Sag. So I think there's this nice, in the next few months and years, as Neptune continues to move through Pisces, we're going to get into that actual alignment much deeper. And I can't wait to see what comes of it. So that's kind of a cool thing happening on Friday the 13th. But for the most part this week, we have a lot of fixed energy. We have, the nodes and Uranus and a fixed earth sign of Taurus being activated. Then we have Venus and hi, hi, there's my child. She's in, so yeah, that's her. Yes. Yay. So yeah. Hey, Shauna, nice to see you. Yeah, so we are coming into sort of this fixed earth and fixed air. Venus is in a fixed air sign, which is Aquarius right now. So she's going to be really interested in her opinion, her ideas, and her vision moving forward. So one thing about fixed energy is like it kind of get fixated a little bit on like what they want to do and how they see it and their ideas and their point of view. So yeah, Shauna, if you have any questions, about anything that you're seeing in the Orbit membership, then please feel free to comment. Anything that is confusing to you, then I would love to help you understand it a little bit deeper. Just because what we do really every single week is to look forward throughout that week, and you get to use your planner because you have an astrology planner. And see exactly where the moon phases are coming in. So you can see every single day there's a little glyph right under that moon sign that'll tell you, oh, the moon's in Pisces today. Oh, the moon is in Aries today. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at that type of energy. And so that's the type of stuff. Yay, awesome. So totally welcome to answering questions. You can post them here under the link, or we can post them in our private Facebook group for the Orbit membership. So yeah, I'm actually nearing the end here because I have to go into town, but we are in the waning moon phase, right? We had the full moon. Now everything's kind of downhill, moving towards that new moon. We're going to have an Aquarius coming up. So there will be a new moon circle. I will post the link to the new moon circle in the upcoming weeks. So you can register for that. If you're already in the Orbit membership, then you are automatically registered. You don't have to worry about getting the link. But this week is going to be a lot of personal planets and then, of course, that Mars retrograde. So, Shauna, since you came in here at the end, definitely watch the replay because I talked a lot about what Mars retrograde is, where we are in the cycle of Mars retrograde, how it affects us, and all of that stuff. Yeah, so Shauna was born under the waning moon. That kind of denotes this energy towards uh not building, but sort of reconsidering and adjusting, learning, deciding what you want to keep, what you want to leave. Because there's a lot of letting go in the waning moon phase. Like you don't need a lot of the stuff that you were working towards building, and the conserving of your energy towards releasing stuff versus building stuff, which would be the waxing moon. So that's kind of the difference between the waning and the waxing moon, and yeah, so I actually have to hop off now, but it's good to see you. Thanks for coming, Shauna. And I will post this replay in the Orbit membership so you can watch it. So I will see you all next week. And I hope you have a hopefully a great Mars stationing out of retrograde. So it'll start moving forward this week for you all. So I'll see you later. Bye.